Good morning, everybody. I do hope you are safe and sound. What a start we have to the week here at QuickBooks Ask the Expert. Welcome to the show. It's a daily series from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses just like yourself. Ask any question in the comment section or the hashtag QBATE, that's QBATE on Twitter. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants just like myself and business experts are on hand 24/7. During this live session, we're also running a nice poll. So make sure you engage with that one. Let me know how or what the answers are, and we'll look at them at the end. So my name is Aaron Patrick. It's a pleasure to be with you again. I'm a chartered accountant and QuickBooks certified trainer. So if you do have any questions about QuickBooks, now's the time to ask them. And I also have a dedicated QuickBooks YouTube channel called Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks Chap. So if you need any more QuickBooks news and advice, then why don't you go over to the channel, give it a like and a follow. Also, I own a state-of-the-art accountancy firm called Boffix, which uses the best in cloud technology available to help small businesses get crucial real-time information they need at their fingertips. One fair and consistent monthly subscription to make sure that you, the small business, grows, while at Boffix, we look after the 9 to 5. If you require any accounting advice, payroll, bookkeeping service, and a whole lot more, please do get in touch with us. We make sure that our small businesses don't just survive, but thrive. Boffix also has a YouTube channel called Boffix Tax Tips, which is the best place on YouTube to get your small business questions answered. Okay, enough about me, and let's focus on today's session. As always, the session is all about you. So please do make sure you get your questions in and any of the social channels we've already spoke about, and then hopefully then I can get them answered for you. So while we wait for the questions to arrive, let's talk about some recent issues with our clients are currently facing. Before I get into the meat of the show, a real quick public service announcement. Self-employed income support scheme. So in a nutshell, if you're a self-employed individual, so you're trading as a sole trader, then remember that the second grant has now come live. It's worth 70% of your average monthly trading profits, following in line with the job retention scheme. So remember how that's been reduced, so has the self-employed income support scheme. It's paid out in a single instalment covering 3 months worth of profits and capped at £6,570 in total. But the big part about this is that it's independent from the first grant. So if you were already claiming on that first grant, or you've already made a claim for it, that doesn't mean you're automatically going to receive the second one. So please, please, please use this opportunity to have a look through your emails from HMRC and just make sure that if you have got that first grant, that you then act on it accordingly for the second. One thing to also note is with it being independent is you don't need to have claimed for the first to be entitled to the second. So again, if you've not claimed for the first, but you feel like you've been adversely affected, you are now still eligible to claim for the second. And again, it's not automatic. So please, please, please keep an eye out for that email. To recap, applications for the second and final grant are now open. Make your claim from the date that the HMRC has given you via email, so please don't ignore it. And if you're eligible and your business has adversely affected on or after the 14th of July 2020, you must make your claim for the second grant on or before the 19th of October. So that's why the public service announcement is here today, because we've only got until the 19th of October 2020 to make those claims in. So my advice would be to get that claim in as soon as possible. And your only criteria for the grant itself is that you've been adversely affected on the 14th of July 2020. So please, please, please do have a look at that. Don't just think it's all going to be automated. Do have a look for the email, follow the links accordingly, and then via the HMRC website, you'll be able to make that claim. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about how QuickBooks can help you as a small business get paid, which I know from experience from my clients is one of their biggest pain points. And also I know in a time like this that it's never been more prevalent to make sure you're getting paid. So QuickBooks itself has built directly into the software 3 main ways in which it can help you as a small business get money into your bank account. And it's not just about sending an invoice out and hoping for the best, but they've teamed up with various third parties to make sure that you can get that money directly into your bank. So there is 3 ways. The first one I'm going to talk about, and as soon as you send an invoice out or create an invoice directly in QuickBooks, it's going to prompt you for this, and it's for the Pay Now button. Now, the idea of the Pay Now button is QuickBooks works with PayPal, and it gives an opportunity that when you send an invoice out via QuickBooks, on that invoice itself will be this big Pay Now button where any of your customers can click on that button and make a payment directly there and then with the invoice. The beauty of that is that it's also designed to make sure that it's all related to the fact that you, as the small business, can have it so that it's automated in terms of making sure the invoice itself has been paid, and also that money comes into your PayPal account. And from a customer's point of view, it means they can make a payment really, really simply. They can use Apple Pay and they can use all forms of different ways of making the payment. So it's going to mean that that customer is going to have a real easy time of making that payment. Also, there's no monthly charges or anything like that. All PayPal does is have a preferential rate. So QuickBooks and PayPal are working together to make sure that rate's as low as possible so that you guys can get the best out of it. I really do highly recommend, especially for certain scenarios where you just need to get that quick payment, that quick invoice out there. It's a really useful way of being able to make sure you can make the payment. And you as a business owner, you'll know exactly the time that money has been paid. And also it keeps QuickBooks up to date. So you're then not chasing someone who has already paid on their behalf. There's nothing worse than chasing for an overdue invoice to find that it's just that you haven't updated your bookkeeping and they have actually paid. The other option they have built directly in is a direct debit solution built directly for small businesses. So when I say direct debit, I mean the power of being able to actually request the money directly from your customer's account. It's all used in a third-party solution called GoCardless, which is a fantastic solution. My accountancy practice is built purely on this actual solution, where basically you can set recurring invoices, you can get everything all set up, and it means from a cash flow point of view, all of your monthly income in terms of ongoing recurring transactions can automatically be taken and been put into your bank account. So just as an idea, once it's all set up and you've set that direct debit solution up and you've asked your customer to sign up and you've got your customer in GoCardless and it's all integrated into QuickBooks, then when you send an invoice out from QuickBooks, QuickBooks will then tell GoCardless, which will then take the money from the customer and that money will be put into your bank account. Due to the integration, all of that is seamless within QuickBooks itself, meaning that you don't even need to go in and mark that invoice as paid. That invoice will automatically be paid, and as soon as that money goes in the bank account, you'll then have the opportunity to match it up accordingly. And again, with the power of recurring invoices, you can set it so that you're constantly getting money being taken in and out of your customers. And you can set it up so that your monthly recurring invoices can be really straightforward and simple to use. Finally, if you're keeping up to date with the summer updates and how QuickBooks is enhancing its product offering, then you'll know that they've recently announced their iZettle integration as well. So for the third option for getting payments and helping you as a small business, then for the third option, you'll have the opportunity to get this iZettle integration. Now, the iZettle integration is all about making it really easy for when you need to take physical payments. So if you have a store or a market store, or if you do go around and you physically need to take a payment while you're there and then when you're doing services, then this is a perfect solution for you. The idea here is that you connect this device to your mobile phone, and with that, it becomes a mobile point of sale solution. So you can take payments from credit cards, from debit cards, from Apple Pay, from any type of physical way of making payments via card. And that's going to make it really easy for you to quickly make those payments, get those payments into QuickBooks. And again, because of the tight integration, the second you make a payment, that information is automatically going to get itself into QuickBooks. And it can never be more simple than that or straightforward than that. And it's going to make your life easy as a business owner in terms of being able to record these transactions and, more importantly, get paid for the work that you're doing. So with those three options, the Pay Now button, when it comes directly on your invoice, and it means that you can then ask your customer to make a payment directly from the invoice itself. With that GoCardless integration, where you can set it up so your recurring invoices can automatically not only get paid, but automatically request the money from your client's bank account, to the physical option of using iZettle as well. With all these three all in place, it means that any business out there has the potential to be able to cope with getting payments in and getting payment in efficiently as well. So it's all about these days of integration. And with these three elements, you're seeing a real key advantage of integrating with different services, meaning that you are running your business and having confidence in the information you're putting in there. And that confidence means going forward, you can start thinking about how are you going to best benefit from that information. There's no point you just plowing information into QuickBooks just for the sake of it. You might as well utilize that information. And with the integration of things like the cash flow forecast planner and items like that in QuickBooks, it means that going forward, you're going to be able to see what's happening and predicting your income and predicting your profits going forward. And if you've got integrations like this already built in, that means that those predictions and everything else that goes with it are going to be more accurate because the data you're putting in there is as accurate as it can be. So I really do urge you all to think about how do you take money into your business? What ways in which do you find is beneficial to you? And think about using one of these free integrations to enhance the way that you receive money into your business. If you want to learn more about this, I know QuickBooks are doing a webinar, and the webinar is on Thursday at 11 p.m., all about their PayPal integration. So consider joining that webinar to learn more about how the PayPal integration, that Pay Now button, can really affect you in terms of cash flow. And if you do want any more information about this, then also there's my dedicated YouTube channel and the Bofix Tax Tips channel, where we actually talk about the integration of iZettle and things like that, and how to actually get this up and working, and get this working for your business. Okay, then, with that, I think we're now on to the main part of the show. So hopefully you've taken some advice from getting that information in. And what I want to do now is the main part is talking about your questions. So remember those social channels. Remember putting your questions into the social channels, making sure that you're asking the questions that you need to ask for your business. And when your questions come in, just like Len from Facebook Live Feed, and we get to answer them live directly here on the show. So, Len from Facebook Live Feed, I hope you're well. I seem to have lost the new Performance Center feature under the reports heading in all my QuickBooks files after it's been available for a few days. Has it been withdrawn or moved? Great question there, Len. And just so everyone's fully aware of what this new feature is, we had a release, and if you see one of my videos over at the QuickBooks Chat YouTube channel, you'll see that I'm explaining how these new videos work and how these new integrations work. But we were talking about this fantastic new feature called Performance Center. Now, the idea of Performance Center is to give you, as a user of QuickBooks, the ability to be able to see your data in much more fluid form. So instead of having to go through these reports that are just numbers, and sometimes numbers can be daunting to people to understand in terms of what does this mean and how is this affecting my business, it gives you an opportunity to look in your data in a more visual form. So the visual form of it is going to help you understand how your business is doing and how trends are doing and what's going on. So you'll have lovely pie charts and line charts and everything else that goes with it. Now, this feature came live for a total of around about 2 days. And it was quite a great feature that got a lot of people talking about how that's quite useful and how that's something that's going to benefit small businesses going forward. Unfortunately, after those 2 days, it then disappeared from our client files. Now, we haven't had any official word of why or if or when it's coming back, but normally it's because there's some sort of issue or some sort of problem or some sort of bug that they're trying to fix, and that will come back at a later date. So we fully expect it to come back. We just don't have a date as when, but when it does come back, we're sure to let you know. And it is one of those features that I would highly recommend when it is back that you have a look at and you see what it can be useful for. I think it's going to be a great feature, and I think it's one for you as a small business that will really help you understand how your business is doing and be able to get some really good information. Especially if you've got a brilliant business advisor on with you as well, they're going to really be able to look at that information for you and understand exactly how it goes. Remember to get those questions in. The next question is from Kenyon from Twitter DM. When sending invoices to clients and they don't pay within 30 days, do you have any advice on how to deal with it or what I can do? Great question there, Kenyon. And this is one of the questions, especially now when we're talking about how cash flow is so important, how getting money into your bank account is such an important thing to do at this moment. Well, the first thing I always talk about at any times like this, when you're struggling to get paid or you've got someone who isn't paying you on time, is about making sure those communication levels are correct. Make sure you are opening the communication doors with that person. The most important thing you can do is talk to whoever it is. We're going through really, really tough times at the moment. And I know that it is times where everyone's been affected in different ways. So opening up those communication doors, you might have a better understanding as to why that payment hasn't been made on the date that it's been done. Now, really, it should have been on the onus of that person, that supplier, or it's that customer, or that client. It should have been on the onus of them to reach out to you. But again, unprecedented times, things happen, and it just needs to make sure that that communication is happening. Now, if you can get that communication with that person, then at that point you can talk about maybe payment plans, or you can talk about sorting them out. And this is where, for me, go cardless as another alternative is a really good way to be able to make sure that you can have an agreement with that person and you can set a payment plan that suits both parties. So we, our practice, every now and again, when a client is really struggling, we'll talk about payment plans via Go Cardless. So we'll ask them to pay off chunk by chunk by chunk by chunk. And with Go Cardless, you can set that to automatically come out of their bank account. And also you get informed if ever there's any issues with that money coming your way. So if you need to stop services or you need to do the next steps or whatever it's going to be, you're going to get the information, you're going to get the data that's going to go on about how, and going to give you the opportunity to understand what's going on. Now, if the communication lines aren't working, if you don't have any other ways of being able to talk to them, then at that point, I really would urge that you talk to people like our friends at Ferilio. So they're Ask the Experts on here. They're also Bofix's legal partner that we always push. And they have really good templates in there on how to communicate properly with the fact that you have money that needs to be paid over. And if you do it properly, if you do it in the way that they advise you to do that, means that you actually will then be able to have the opportunity to go down certain legal avenues to be able to make sure that you try and get that money back. But again, you need to be doing this in the right way. You need to be going about it the correct way. So having someone like Ferilio at your back and doing the right templates and having things like that is what we at Bofix would highly recommend. Making sure that you're protected, making sure you're looking after the money, and making sure that you can hopefully, fingers crossed, get that paid as soon as possible. But again, hopefully, Kenyon, hopefully you found a way there to be able to start that communication with them, talk to that person, and if you can't talk to them, do really consider looking at someone like Ferilio as a way of just getting that little bit of legal support, just so you can make sure that you get that payment done in the right way. Again, make sure you get your questions in. Jonathan was the next one on Facebook Messenger. He says, "Hi, Aaron. I've been working an accountant for almost a year now, and my goal is to become a manager and director one day. What advice do you have for someone that is just starting out?" Fantastic question there. And Jonathan, we need as many people like yourself to be pushing yourself and wanting to be an accountant and wanting to embrace accountancy, and also want to hopefully one day, like you said, become the top of the field. Now, when it comes to accountancy, the best advice I could give you is, first of all, make sure that you're doing as many qualifications as you can. Unfortunately, accountancy is a profession where it is based on what qualifications you have, depends on how far up the ladder you can go. And so I do recommend that you try and push yourself as far as you can. And don't be afraid to do it in steps and do it in stages. I started at AAT, I then moved up to ICAW, and I went on to my practice certificate from there. And there's nothing wrong with taking that stepped approach to be able to make sure that you get all the knowledge as you go through. My other thing I would highly recommend is don't be afraid or try and push to get an idea of every aspect of accountancy. Accountancy itself is such a vast qualification. There's so many things about it. There's so many parts of it that are different to what you could have in a standard career path. And there's so many niches involved in accountancy. At some point, you're going to have to double down on one of those niches. You're going to have to become a specialist in a particular area, be it payroll, be it bookkeeping, be it accountancy, be it tax, be in a special area within one of those tax professions. Now, before you make that decision, my advice is to have the opportunity to have a look at the whole spectrum of accountancy, Find the bit that really gets your blood pumping. Find the bit that you enjoy. Find the bit that you have an ability to be able to give the most to. Because what you'll find the most satisfying bit about being an accountant is about helping clients. And the only way you're going to be able to help clients is be able to find the niche that you are really, really passionate about, really enjoy, so then you can help your clients as much. And in your case, you want to become a managing director. You want to push yourself as much as you can up that chain. So for you to do that, then you need to be able to find a niche within the accounting world that you've got a passion behind so that you can push yourself and keep going up and up. I really hope that's going to be successful for you. And I hope one day you'll be able to be on Asset Expert as well as a managing director. Safra from Facebook Messenger says, "Hi, I'm pretty new to QuickBooks and was wondering if you had any advice on how to use the cash flow planner as a relatively new business owner. I've been trading for 4 months." Well, first of all, Safra, brilliant question there. And this is one where I urge all small businesses to start looking at. Now, when you start into business, one of the things that you're always going to be worried about is cash flow. Exactly what Safra is saying here. Now, when it comes to cash flow, it's a really difficult thing to actually predict. It's a really difficult thing to keep on top of. And if you were going to do it manually, it's a very time consuming effort to be able to keep on top of cash flow and make sure you're going in the right way. Now, QuickBooks has recently released a brand new tool called the Cash Flow Planner. And the idea then is it's looking at historical information to try and predict for you what your next 90 days of cash flow is going to look like. And that's crucial for small businesses, especially in times like this, especially when we're going through things that we're going through at the moment, where we need to know how much money we've got, what our run rate's going to be, and everything else that goes with it. With the introduction of Cash Flow Planner, that makes that solution much easier for us and gives us the opportunity to predict and help ourselves going forward. Now, when it comes to your particular question here about advice, my biggest bit of advice is remember that the predictions being made is all based on the information you've previously put into QuickBooks. So first and foremost, you need to make sure that information is correct. So make sure your bank account's connected, make sure it's reconciled, make sure you've got the integrations we talked about as payment planners and everything else. Because the more information we can get into QuickBooks, the more accurate it can predict it. And more importantly, the more correct information we can get into QuickBooks, the more accurate the results are going to be. So make sure that you've got the right information into QuickBooks in the first place. Make sure you're confident in that information that's there by doing reconciliations and looking at how it's going to be. And then let QuickBooks then do its magic and start the prediction. This piece of software, this element to the software, should I say, this feature within QuickBooks or Cash Flow Planner is only going to get better and better over time. It's only going to learn more. It's only going to understand more. But it can only learn and understand if you've put the right information there in the first place. So make sure you're confident in the information there. Make sure you can do reconciliation checks and sensible analytical checks to make sure you're happy with that information. If you're happy with that information, then QuickBooks is going to be able to take that information and be able to do the predictions for you. So do take this time to have a look at it. I've done loads of videos on my personal channel. I'm sure one of the QuickBooks teams will link that channel there for you. So you will then have the opportunity to go and have a look at how to reconcile, how to get the most out of the Cash Flow Planner, and be able to hopefully push your business forward going from there. Okay, next question we've got. Nor from Twitter DM says, "I've read the self-employed people will be able to claim for a second grant until October. Do you know if that is correct?" Exactly right. So that's what I was trying to talk about in that public service announcement at the beginning of the show. You as a self-employed individual, so making sure, first of all, you are self-employed and you're eligible for it. So unfortunately, limited companies and owner-managed businesses are not part of this particular scheme. But if you are a self-employed, so you have to fill in a tax return every year and declare your income, then as long as you've already got previous tax returns and those tax returns have been filed, then you now have the opportunity to get that submission of your self-employed grant in before October. What I would say at this point is to keep an eye out for that email. If you have got the email, make sure you act on it. And also remember, it's independent from that previous grant. So then you need to just make sure that you do put the application in, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, you will get paid for that grant. Frederick from Facebook Messenger says, "I noticed there are some changes to Making Tax Digital. Is there anyone that might be able to be exempt from Making Tax Digital?" That's a great question there. So just to give everyone some context from Frederick, one thing that we're talking about here is the fact that Frederick is talking about how Making Tax Digital is going to affect the way we submit our information. So at the moment, it only affects VAT. And at the moment, if you're below the £85,000 threshold, then you're not actually requirement to file by Making Tax Digital. And all Making Tax Digital basically means, in a nutshell, is how you file your information over to HMRC. So HMRC are very, very particular, and they want you to make sure that going forward, you're filing it via software, just like QuickBooks. So if you are using QuickBooks, you're already perfectly covered. But when you do file via QuickBooks, they want to be able to see more information, whereas before you've just had to file a couple of numbers on a VAT return. Now, what's going to happen is that certain of those exemptions are going away. So currently, if you are below the 85,000, by next April, you are then, even if you are voluntary VAT registered, you're going to have to file for Making Tax Digital. But there will be still a very few exempt cases in terms of filing by MTD. Now, we don't know how long they're going to be there for, but what I would recommend is that you make sure your business is prepared to file by Making Tax Digital. I would make sure that you have all the way in which you can get everything included into QuickBooks and be able to file up and start from there. Okay, so last question then from Paul. Good morning. Can you please explain good morning. Can you please explain how T-Sheet works in QuickBooks? I have 3 employees whose time I need to track and will be great if we can start to do it in QuickBooks. Well, really quickly on this one, as we're just about to run out of time, Paul, basically T-Sheets is a fantastic way for you to make sure that your timesheets are done correctly. So it gives loads of ways in which you can get that information into QuickBooks. One thing I would highly recommend you do is get yourself installed on T-Sheets, have a look at it. And again, in my channel, we talk about T-Sheets in a little bit more detail. T-Sheets is a great way where you can make timesheets work much better for you and your business. Instead of having to ask your staff just to fill in Excel spreadsheets or anything like that, you give them a real incentive to be able to file it in properly. So they use their mobile phones, they use their other technology where they can quickly get that information in. Also, as an owner, you get to see exactly what's going on and you get to see everything there. So I really do highly recommend you look into T-Sheets. It's a great solution. It's one we push at Boffix for our clients. With Paul's last question, then we are at the end of today's session. So one quick reminder, though, is to just keep an eye out for those payments and make sure you are looking at payments. And if you are thinking about putting those payments into play for QuickBooks, then do think about that webinar on Thursday by QuickBooks. We've also got the results of our poll has just come in. So while we were talking to you, you were while I was talking, you were answering your poll questions. And the question I asked you was, has your business benefited from using QuickBooks payment methods? Now, this is a really important question because it's going to understand if your business has benefited or not from the payment methods. And 78% of you, that's a massive amount of small business out there, have said yes to the fact that they're getting benefit from using the payment methods. Now, there's 22% out there who are not getting benefits from you. Now, 2 parts there. Number one, hopefully it's just because you haven't or you weren't aware of them, and it's something you're going to take away from this to start looking into. But if you aren't getting benefits from it, I'd highly recommend looking at your workflow, looking at how you take payments on board, because if you're not using one of those free, I would highly recommend you finding a solution that still integrates with QuickBooks. Integration of your income is so vital going forward. Making Tax Digital, looking at cash flow projections, everything that goes with it. So please, 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 for those 22%, I do urge you just to have a think about it. See how you are dealing with your income at the moment, and just have a look and see if you can benefit from taking integration on, and also if you can use one of the ones that QuickBooks is promoting. So with that then, I am about to wrap up. So any questions, get in touch with QuickBooks support team on Facebook or myself at the Boffix website, hello@boffix.com if you want any more information from us, or my YouTube channel, which is Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks chap, if you want more information on QuickBooks. It's my pleasure to announce tomorrow's Ask the Expert. I can't believe that Jackie Frost is coming back again. So if you didn't remember from last time, Jackie gave us a great talk about how she got to where she was before. She gave some wonderful advice. So Jackie Frost, who is an active angel investor and board director across sectors as diverse as fintech and luxury goods, Jackie Frost is no stranger in utilizing change to amplify growth. And her second book, Rule Breaker: Rebellious Leadership for the Future of Work, is coming out next year. Highly, highly recommend you get in touch tomorrow. I will definitely be there asking questions as well, because the last time we learned so much from what Jackie has to offer. A reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts just like myself are on hand 24/7. Thank you, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.